Hey, David, I looked up Yami. Too expensive, unfortunately. They have nice looking bikes. So someone on Facebook is selling a Speedrid in Philly. So I've heard of them. I might take a look at it. What's nice is it's put together. I don't want to put together a bike. All right, let's get going. ISM services. So there's actually a couple of different things going on. With this report. Just so everybody knows, let's just wait 1 minute because we're not due to start till 9:30. It's not quite 9:30 yet. This is not a family money trade, nor is oil at the moment. Oil's been close, but it's been a little bit inconsistent, or uneven is probably the word I would describe with oil. All right, we're getting ready. We got about 30 seconds to go. We're streaming live on YouTube. So I want to say hello to our YouTube folks. Chantal, we got to figure out how to put my webcam on YouTube. We might as well, right? Then the webcam will be in the trade room, the whole trade too. Not sure I want to do that. All right, folks, welcome to the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. ISM services. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-Minute Trades. I want to welcome you to the trade room for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes only, and it is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully. So there's a couple of different things going on this morning on this trade. Number one, at 9:45, there's a trade called Services PMI. I might set up a gold trade just to see how it behaves. Not live, because these next two trades have been, we started a new thing this month called family money trades. So David says, I'm confused. First, you trade Eric's money. Now that what he means is you trade the boss's money, the company account. Now you trade your family's money, and he asks, do I ever trade my own money? So actually, David is just joking, but he's serious. He might be partly serious too. So when we first started, I did have money in our trading account. That's because when I first started, we didn't have a trading account. So I opened the account to do it quickly, and we had a trading account. But I don't have, it's not necessary for me to have money in the trading account, but we have a live trading account. We actually have two. I'm going to trade ISM services in our test account because this is not an official family money trade, and we have a new setup. I'd like to test the setup because the testing on the setup is pretty good. But as far as a daily market report, we do not even have one currently for the ISM services report because it's been behaving so poorly. But we do have a setup for it that looks pretty good, and I'm interested in trying it. So we'll see how, because the testing looks good. So we have a trap trade set up for the ISM services. I don't have videos for ISM services because we haven't been trading it. I mean, we've been looking for some reversals on it, and it just, very honestly, this is a report that I'm not recommending that people trade with real money. But like I said, we do have a new setup, and we are interested possibly in trading it. So it's a risk of about $240, and it seems to test well. So I think I'm going to trade it. But first, you've got two reports coming up. You've got ISM New York, which is a very minimal report. I tried thinking about trading it. It really just hasn't happened. Hasn't been a very impactful report. And then you also have Services PMI, which before the world crisis has not been bad to trade. But the world crisis has created havoc with some of the reports. It's created complications in the way news has been released. News hasn't been released as reliably as it used to be. So you have to be more careful doing what we do. And that's why we're testing out this trading family money concept. Family money trades are trades that I feel if my family gave me money to trade, would I take the trade? And this is not one of them. Okay. Now, maybe our new setup will prove to be great and it'll become a family money trade. You've got to test trades in order to figure out which ones are the ones worth trading. So it's very important to realize that testing is very, very important in what we do. So YouTube folks, if you'd like, give the video a like, or a stream a like, but more importantly, sign up for our channel and hit the notification bell so you know the next time we're going to be streaming live, which will be sometime tomorrow. We do it at least 4 times a week. We stream our trade room live. Keep in mind that a trade room is delayed slightly. Streams are slightly delayed on YouTube, so I would be extremely careful. If you were going to try and follow along and trade exactly the way we do, it's going to be delayed. Keep that in mind. And all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. So this particular 945 trade, final services, if I were going to see if it's going to work, I used to trade it with gold. I'd use a bracket of 5 or 6. I would use a target of 4, a target of 12, a stop of 10, and an entry of 945. That would be my setup. So 2 contracts, 1 for 4 ticks, 1 for 12 ticks, probably 10, really, 4 and 10. Stop of 10 and an entry time of 9:45. I am not trading this live. These are trades that I've looked at it for a very long time. It's been inconsistent, especially since the world crisis began over a year ago. But I like to test this trade because I think at some point it might become tradable. It's possible. It seems to have enough market interest. It certainly used to have enough market interest that it had impact. The news had impact. It is being slightly affected today by the New York ISM index, which has not been a very impactful trade. Okay. And then at 10 o'clock, we have ISM services. And then we're going to stay in the room for crude. Okay. For the crude oil report, which we pretty much trade every week. But it's not, I would not consider that a family money trade. Crude And we'll discuss it when we get to crude. Right now, it's not a family money trade. And I'll explain my reasons at 10 o'clock. So right now I've got a little trade set up because I want to test not final services PMI. It used to be, I swear it used to be called final services, but it's called services PMI now. 99% of the time it trades prior to ISM services. I can only remember one time that it didn't. And it's similar to, there's also a report at 9:45 before ISM manufacturing. Today is non-manufacturing, which has been renamed to ISM services on most calendars, except for investing.com. Investing.com seems to be sticking with the old name. Let's check our time sync. We check our time sync by going to the website time.is. Time is exact. Okay. Time is exact. All you do is just click on the website time.is, and that will put you in sync most of the time. If it doesn't, we do have tools. In fact, in the trade room, if you look up at the taskbar, up at the top of the trade room, there's a bar. That bar has a file folder called Room Drive. In that file folder, there's a program called D4 Time. If the website time.is will not put you in sync, you can download D4 Time. That's Dimension 4. That's another program that will help you put yourself in time sync. I just happen to be listening to Financial Juice in the background. They do have forecasts for the services PMI. It's the same as investing.com, 63.1. But the non-manufacturing is different. There's been some differences in data projections this week. But services is the same. That's the trade that's at 9:45. And I do have a test trade set up. We'll see how it works. See how it looks. And then we'll go over to ISM services, which I have a trap trade. We're going to have a webinar for free. As soon as the new trap trade is available, I'll set up a webinar, a free webinar for everybody to go over the new versions in the trap trade. And I can't believe I forgot to do something really important. I don't think the programmer will be able to do it now, but I'll have to ask him. And he'd probably charge us. My boss is going to kill me. He's going to want to kill me. But I'm going to ask anyway. So we've got about 3 minutes until that 9:45 trade comes out. And of course, the things we're looking at and things that we're looking for, does the news come out on time? That's been, in the past year, that's been issue that we've had to deal with. What's the offset? Obviously, what's the difference between the expected news and the actual news? Is there a big difference? Big differences often create a move in the index that we're trading, gold, or the index we're watching, for instance, the ES. Does gold move in the right direction? Now, this morning's ADP report was tricky. You could say gold moved in two directions. One of the reasons that report was tricky to trade was A, they were looking for a very large job growth number, which I think was almost impossible to get. And because they still got a very large number, even though it was quote unquote negative, it was really positive because it was way better than the previous month. So on the one hand, it seemed like gold moved in the right direction because the news was negative and it moved up, but it explains why the move was so choppy and mediocre, because the news result, I wouldn't say it was intentionally sabotaged, because it's not intentional, but you could, if you think about it, certainly in retrospect, especially, that was a very difficult and would be a very difficult report to trade, talking about the ADP report, which it was, because they were looking for such a large number of created payroll jobs. It would have been very hard to reach that number, but then the confusing aspect would have been, but there's still a very large increase, just not as much as expected. That created a choppy move from the report. It all makes total sense in retrospect. Let's watch ISM or services PMI, not ISM, services PMI. Also, you have that little New York report, ISM New York. Institute of Supply Management is what ISM stands for. Decent news, nothing great, not fantastic, better than expected, but I would cancel because you're not getting a response, and it's not a very, it's a decent offset. I would let it go. 30 seconds. If you're not getting a response, it's going the wrong way though, which concerns me. So I would it's just chopping. So I would just forget this trade. All right. It's not really doing much, not getting much of a response, but look at the ES. The ES had a much better response. So when you do your journal, you have to remember, mark down that the ES had a much better move potentially, right? And maybe it's an ES trade, and that's what we'll look at for next month. Okay? Makes sense, folks? Makes sense? You have to have a journal. Now gold's going down a bit, right? Gold eventually went down, which is the proper direction. It is the proper direction. So you notate that, gold moves slowly, but it did get there eventually, but you probably would have canceled. Maybe you should wait a minute for all these reports. That's the one, especially the small ones. The ES, might be looked at. So maybe you can test the ES. That's something we'll look at, because I don't give up on these little trades. Just because they're little doesn't mean I give up on them. Okay, so I'm going to set up my trap trade. Now, the biggest enemy to a trap trade, one contract, okay? Price at the time. Nobody should trade the trap trade live until our new version is out, okay? No one should trade the program live, use the program till the new version is out. I'm trading a special version, okay? Stop loss is 12, one target. My preparation time is 10 seconds. That means my orders will show up in 10 seconds. I am going to try this trade. I hope I have enough margin in my account, in this account. I'm right on the border. Right on the border, I believe. Entry time is 10 o'clock. My tiers are 10. That's 10 ticks from the current price and 15 ticks from the current price. That's where my orders are going to show up. My stop position is the last fill price. Now, for the past year, ISM Services has not been a reliable breakout trade. There were a couple that worked over the past 6 months. There were a couple that worked, but overall, it has not been a reliable breakout trade, okay? One more time, my setup. On the trap trade. Bracket center, price at the time. One position, tier 10. One position, tier 15. That means 10 ticks above the current price, 15 ticks above the current price, and also the exact same thing below. I'm putting prices above and below. I'm preparing because in the old days, we used to adjust our trap trade orders. We don't do that so much now because of the volatility in the markets. And I want a 12-tick stop. 12-tick stop. That's what I want. A 12-tick stop. All right. Why am I interested in doing this? I'll show you. So we did some testing, all right, using the trap trade. And in April, the orders come on the chart 10 seconds before the news comes out. Then the news comes out. It fills me long because the trap trade, it goes down and fills you in the opposite direction. That's the way that it works. And you could see this was a small winner. If I waited longer, it would have been a better winner. All right. Then I tested March. March is a trap trade's biggest nightmare, if I remember correctly. March just shoots in one direction and goes right to your stop and stops you out, if I remember correctly. If it's not March. Yeah, see, March just went straight up, hit the stop, and there was no trade. It was a perfect breakout in March. Now, if that happens today, we'll get stopped. We'll get stopped. February, ten seconds, the orders go on. February, it's now 10 o'clock, shoots down, but it doesn't hit the stop. And then it slowly reverses and you're able to grab a profit. Okay. And then I did one more trade of one of the ones I already tested. Hang on, folks. I have to take this. I'm not even talking, it's just a recording. Okay, folks, sorry about that. I did a different test to see if I could trade it better by being more patient. And I was able to do better by being more patient, but it's very hard. Sometimes it's very hard. You can give up your profit if you're in a profitable position to move your stop to break even plus a tick or two. Then you can be patient because you can let the market's money do the work for you. But you could give up all the market's money also if it reverses more than you expect. That's the downside of moving your stop to break even plus 1 or 2 and waiting. Okay, but the upside is a bigger profit. And in this case, being patient in February was much better than jumping out quickly. Okay. It's not always the case, but it seems like more often than not, it is the case. So ISM, we would actually prefer if the news is mixed, right? We'd actually prefer mixed news. We don't want a giant offset. That we don't want. The thing in our favor is the inconsistent manner in which gold has been trading. Let's check time sync, which matters in almost every trade. So I go to the website time.is and it puts my computer in sync. So the idea of the trap trade is we're going to put orders above the current price and below 10 seconds before the news comes out. If the price goes down, it fills me on the long side. If the price goes up, it fills me on the short side. And then I'm looking for the price to change direction enough to give me a profit. Okay. So that's what we're waiting for. So there's certainly concern in the markets about an overheating of inflation. Prices are up. There are problems in the supply chains throughout many, many types of businesses, particularly because there are chip shortages. Chip shortages are creating havoc for the auto manufacturers, obviously the computer industry. There's a lot of companies. I mean, everything uses chips. Even the electric bicycle market has been struggling with chip shortages. But the whole supply chain is having to deal with this chip shortage. What happened was there's a major factory that burned to the ground in China last year, to the ground. And it was a major chip manufacturing facility. And that's been a significant problem for the semiconductor industry. And you can see it. There's been a shortage of, if you build your own computers, there's been a shortage of parts. So it's been difficult. It's been difficult for certain industries in particular. And that's why a lot of people think inflation is going to be a definite. And the Fed, a lot of people don't agree with the Fed's analysis of what's happening with inflation. They think it's transient, and a lot of people think it's here to stay. So that's obviously it's an unknown, but certainly an issue. So once again, this is not a family money trade. This is one of the worst performing reports, if not the worst performing report that we've had in the past year. But we're testing a completely different method of trading it, and that's what we're testing. It's not a guarantee it's going to work. There are no guarantees that anything will work, obviously. Any trade can go bad. But that's why you do your testing and you look for alternatives to reports that haven't been performing well. So they're constantly talking about inflation. Constant. It's in the news all the time. All right, we got 15 seconds. My orders are going to show up now. I couldn't trade, folks, because of margin. They wouldn't let me trade it. So that's a shame. So I can't change fast enough. I had a feeling I didn't have enough margin. So they may have saved me because gold's going to test the high. It might, you know, it's a shame. I think the trade, let's see if there's a reversal. I had a feeling on my margin was too short. The news is quite negative. Quite negative. The breakout would have worked fine. Excuse me. The breakout would have worked fine. But they would not let me trade it due to margin, which is, I had a feeling that was the case. I was right on the border. Right on the border. Now, if it reverses, though, in the log, I think I'll still have my entries. Insufficient margin. Yes, here's my entries, though. Okay. My long entry, which would have been a short, let me see, 1781.80. 1781.80. If it got 12 ticks above that, I would have been stopped. 1781.80. 1781.80 was my short. And so let's say I got filled there. I would have gotten stopped. 83 would have been my stop, and it got to 40. So I'm happy that they didn't let me trade because of margin. It would have shot right through. It was a perfect breakout today. Perfect breakout. I mean, that's how things go. Sometimes, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. That's life. These things happen. So you can't, I'm not going to cry in a corner, but I could tell by the analysis that the trade would not have worked today. And I want to be truthful. I was a little bit concerned. Look what you had going on. 70, you have about 50 ticks before the trade. Gold was trending higher, right near the high of the day. Okay. A 12-tick stop was not enough to protect you from that trade. It's not that the trap trade is not a good setup. But today, I really should not have traded it, to be honest. I should have recognized by just looking at the charts, the extra risk. And I'll tell you the truth, it entered my mind, but I wanted to test the setup because it's been working well. And today, you had a very good offset, not good news, but a good offset, meaning the expected news release was much worse than expected, and it pulled gold right up. It would have been a perfect breakout. Now, that's the third perfect breakout with the ISM trade, I believe, in the last 6 months, which means it might be possible to start considering it as a breakout also. We need to do a little bit more testing for next month and see if there's a possibility now that we can go back to our regular breakout trade on ISM. As I said, it's been one of the worst performing trades in our arsenal. So, I mean, I'm not going to cry in a corner that not having enough margin protected me from a stop out. But in some ways, I know better based on the markets and the way gold's been behaving. And I could have traded the breakout today and it would have worked. I mean, we didn't have, it would totally have been an off the cuff, last second decision. But I've been doing this long enough that I don't mind taking responsibility and being honest about the fact that I didn't do what probably was the better move. And I don't mind admitting that. The better move would have been to just take the regular breakout trade because gold was pushing towards the high. It had an upward trend, and that's a very strong reason. That's a strong reason. Okay. We're staying here for oil. I'm going to reboot my platform. I will reboot my platform. Oil is not a family money trade. Okay. I like to reboot a platform between live trades. And I am going to trade this live, but we don't trade, we only trade one contract on oil currently. I'm only trading family money in our real account for the whole month. I'm trading family money. That was what we said we were going to do. But I want to make sure that there's no issue with margin. With oil, I don't believe there is. There shouldn't be. Because I'm only trading one contract. So what do you do to check margin? AMP is my clearing broker. So I Google AMP margins. And I look for the metals. I'm trading, I'm trading energies, CL, and their margin is 1,300. So no problem at all. No problem at all. The reason for the gold issue is if you look at metals, gold was 2,500, and it looked at my trade as having 4 contracts, even though I was only going to trade 2. That's why it didn't allow me the margin. And I kind of thought that was going to happen. I did think that was going to happen, to be honest. So Not the end of the world. Ironically, the breakout trade would have worked. Certainly looked like it. Now, oil, totally different game. Bear with me. Let me set up a different recording. What's interesting is ISM services, and we'll test it. Looked like a pretty darn good breakout. Now, there is a way that you can really tell pretty well if you've got a breakout that would have worked. Okay, if you go to the range chart, okay, you go look at the range chart on the instrument that you were trading, okay, go to the range chart on the instrument you were trading at the exact time of the trade. Now, if I was trading a breakout trade with gold at 10 o'clock, I would have put my orders on at 59, okay? At 59, 9:59, 59 is the time I would have put my orders on. That's right back here. So at 9:59:59, it already started moving up gold. Okay. So you can say you might not have gotten filled until there was a change in direction all the way up here, 1782.30. I would have had at least a 6-tick first target. So 82.30, it went to the high. 83.40, we would have hit our first target for sure on the breakout, and then it would have stopped us out because I would have moved my stop to break even, and it went all the way back down. It went back down. Let's see, did it go back down past my fill? I believe that it did. My fill would have been 82.40, like we said, somewhere around there, very close to that. It made a new high, and then it got down well below 82.40. The range chart shows you every little move in the index. So if you want to analyze whether or not a trade really would have worked, use your range chart to analyze that. Okay? The ISM services was a one target winner, not two, but one, because you very possibly, especially because gold liquidity is so lousy these days, you wouldn't have gotten filled until you went all the way up to a change in direction. And that's a very important thing to understand about liquidity, and one of the problems the gold market has been presenting when trading news. Chantal, if you're here, you're an expert at doing what I just did. Do you agree? Were you watching? Okay, that's all right if you aren't watching. I'm pretty comfortable in my analysis. Aren't you supposed to say, yes, I agree, no matter what? Chantal, you're supposed to say, yes, I agree, no matter what. That's your job. Yes, I agree. Anyway, folks, I trust my analysis, okay? One target winner for ISM. Breakout, as a breakout. Now, why is oil Why is oil not a family money trade? The reason for that is because oil has been inconsistent or uneven in the way it's been trading lately. Okay, the Wednesday report. 6 months ago, I might have called it a family money trade because it was trading better. But we've just had some reports that have been difficult to trade, tricky to trade. And I'm not prepared. Also, oil can make such a dramatic move. It can blow through your stops. It can cause losses greater than you anticipate. That's not how you want to trade family money, right? I realize that natural gas falls into that category also. I am calling natural gas a family money trade, but there's a reason for that. It's been trading way better than oil, way better. Using our exact method. That's the most important caveat. It's using our exact method. You know, other people may have other methods they trade. I don't really care how other people trade. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to trade our method, and how's it working? Oil, 10 tick bracket. 10 tick bracket. Just trading one contract, looking for 10 ticks, not 7. Looking for 10. All right. Looking for 10 ticks. The stop is 12. One contract, looking for 10 ticks. Entry time, 10:29:58. It's a breakout trade. Wednesday report. That's my setup. Very simple setup. 10 tick bracket, one target for 10 ticks, a stop of 12, enter 10:29:58. That's my setup. Let's check our sync, and I'll show you a couple of oil trades that we traded recently. Time sync, time.is. Sync is looking good. And let's look at a couple of oil trades last week. Hopefully I have it. Was April 28th, roughly. Yep. Here's last week's trade. Five seconds. It hit the 7 tick target, did not hit initially, did not hit the 10 tick target, came one tick away from stopping me out. And then when all was said and done, I believe I got 5 ticks. 4. I got 4 ticks, and it kept going up, I believe. It came one tick away from stopping us out. That was pretty amazing. And we only made 4 ticks last week. That was not an easy trade last week. The week before was the 21st. So April 21st, I think miraculously, a lot of people got stopped out the 21st. Miraculously, I got 2 ticks. So the last 2 weeks have been very challenging in trading oil. They have been challenging. Okay. I got lucky last week. I should have been stopped out. Should have been stopped out. I was moving my stop, and before I moved it, the price ticked me, and I was positive 2 ticks. That's what happened. And then the 14th, 3 weeks ago. But this is what I mean. This is why oil is not a family money trade. Family money trades are trades that you don't worry a lot. Okay, I worry on every trade. But a family money trade is a trade that I don't worry a lot, and it has a high profit ratio. Oil went through my target 3 weeks ago. That's another thing oil can do to you. It can go through your target. Now that week, it hit both targets, and I got out flat because I had moved my stop to break even. So I have struggled with the oil report for the last 3 weeks. I've definitely struggled with the report for the last 3 weeks. The week before, March 31st, nope, 4/14, April 7th. April 7th was a stop. So you understand why it's not family money? Everybody get it? Absolutely, Mark. You got to have, you got to be able to deal with a lot of frustration, no matter how you trade oil, no matter what your system is. Oil is not easy to trade. It's just not easy. Now, I would like to see the price go down about 10 ticks before this trade. Because if it tests the high, I want it to be 20 ticks away from that, at least. I'd like it to be 20 ticks away from the high, because I want my target is 10 ticks, okay? My target is 10 ticks. There's a possibility it could test the high and reverse. It could happen. Could easily happen. So I'd like to see it drop about 15 ticks before the trade. Now, will there be a drawdown? There was a monstrous drawdown yesterday in the Tuesday afternoon report. A monstrous drawdown. 7 million barrels drew down. What they're expecting this morning is a drawdown of 2 million. Very similar to what was expected yesterday afternoon. The one thing we could say is that oil has not had a beautiful, perfect trade in weeks. It just hasn't. There's no denying that, okay? That it has not had a great, solid, single move, nice looking trade. It's been choppy. It's been hard to trade. And it goes through those periods. Some people think that it acts that way more with the warm weather. So that's something, if you feel that way, then you've got to test. You've got to test oil trades taken in the warm weather compared to oil trades you took in the cold weather. It's a valid thought. Definitely a valid thought. Okay. Let's look at one more oil trade. Let's look at a perfect oil trade. How about that? Perfect oil trade. January 13th. Perfect. Here's what a perfect oil trade looks like. Bingo. Hits your targets, goes further than your targets. That's a perfect oil trade. Let's look at one more. Can I find another one? Let's see. All right, let's try February 10th. I have no idea what this trade did. You know what? February 3rd, I've got that sitting right here. This might have been another perfect trade. Maybe not. Let's see. February 3rd, oil. I call that as close to perfect as you can get. Very nice oil trade. All right. Well, you can see that I'm being very specific about what I call a family money trade, okay? I take it very seriously if I'm going to tell you, yes, this report is a report that I would trade with my family's money. Because as far as I'm concerned, you're my family, right? So I think that if I say I'm going to trade family money, a lot of you are going to take a trade. So that matters to me. I don't want my family losing money. I knew I was opening myself up to a whole lot of wackadoo comments the minute I started mentioning family money. Family mafia money is always serious. You lose it, you got to pay. That's a comment from one of our members. Very true. Very true. Trading is serious to begin with. People would like to know, what are the safest times to trade? What are the safest reports to trade? And that's part of our job, is figuring that out. Now, like I said, if crude, I'd love to see crude down to around 45 before the trade. Not sure I'm going to get my wish. It's close, but not going to get my, I don't think I'm going to get my, maybe I will. Maybe it's just going to test that area. I think there's certainly a possibility oil wants to test the high. Now, it could happen after the report, well after the report. Doesn't have to be right at the moment of the report. "30 seconds. All right, so the report's coming in 10 seconds. Again, a gigantic drawdown. Why am I canceling this trade? Because it's moving the wrong direction. I don't care if it hits my target. It's not going the right direction. My feeling is we would have been stopped. Okay, let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. What was our order? Let's let it trade for a minute. You had a gigantic drawdown. It should be bursting up. It didn't move. I've never seen oil in a year not move instantaneously. Now it's going the right direction. It's going to go test the high. Like I said, I want to see where my fill was for a short, or if we would have been safe. Our software shows us where our fill was. 66.38. 66.38. So I would have gotten filled short, folks, and I'd now be stopped out. Okay, I did the right thing by canceling this trade. And we can watch the video. We can watch the video. It eventually moved the right direction, but not for us. You got to understand, not for us. Gents, hang on 1 second. Gents, hang on 1 second. I'll tell you where our entry would have been. And then it would have been a 12-tick stop. So let me make sure I'm right. Okay, let me make sure I'm right. So here's what it looked like happened. Our short entry was 66.38. 66.38, according to the software. 66.38. Okay. $66.38. I want to look at the video real quick to make sure that directionally I have everything right. So 66.38 was our fill. The stop would have been 66.26. 66.26 would have been the stop. So 38 is our fill. Okay. There's no fill at all. And then you can see the fill, it's 38. Price goes down to 38. I canceled the trade though. 38's right here. Price would have filled me right there and only gone 4 ticks in my direction before it moves up and goes to the high 67, clearly, easily stopping me out. All right. I definitely did the right thing by canceling that trade. Gents, does that help? 38 was the fill, and the stop was 12 ticks above that, 66.50. 66.50. Entry 66.38. Stop 66.50. Target 66.28. Never gets there. Never gets there. Not for me. Not for me. So did the right thing by not trading that. And look at oil's acting like it always does. Okay? Acting like it always does. Now, Mike, right, target 1 was 7 ticks if you traded multiple contracts. So you would have gotten target 1 because it was 7 ticks. I was trading 1 contract for 10, okay? Trading 1 contract for 10. It might be that we could call oil a family money trade if you trade for a 7-tick target. And that's something we'll look at. That's something we're going to look at. All right. Folks, that's it for today. YouTube, folks, if you enjoyed what we saw, gents, hang on. The entry was 66.38 long, but it went down first. The reason I canceled is because it went down. Maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. I made a mistake. I might have made a mistake. Maybe it didn't stop me out. So I want to make sure that I'm right here. If my entry was 66.38, no, I'm sorry. That was my short entry. My short entry was 66.38. That's where it went first, and it would have stopped me out on the long side. On the long side. So, gents, you definitely got lucky on that. You definitely got lucky on that. All right, folks. Tomorrow, just so you know the schedule, there is no DMM for the 8 o'clock trade, but we will have a trade room for Thursday unemployment claims. Okay? So we'll be here at 8 and then 10 o'clock for natural gas tomorrow. 8 and 10 tomorrow. And then Friday, 8 o'clock for jobs. Okay? So I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Okay. All right, folks. I'll see everybody tomorrow. So a big 40 bucks this morning. A very strange trading morning for me. But I'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care.